It's one of the greatest natural spectacles there is, a fire curtain, sheets of molten lava surging from a fissure in the earth.
Ashton, what is the very latest that you're hearing?
Well, this volcanic eruption happened about 10:30 last night on the Reykjanes Peninsula. People who are familiar with the country might well have heard of the attraction, the Blue Lagoon. It's not far from there. It's also about 30 miles away from Reykjavik, the capital of Iceland.
Why Iceland? Well, it sits right on top of one. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge is a 10,000-mile-long seam where rising magma is creating new ocean floor, pushing continents apart. And the Reykjanes Ridge on Iceland is where part of it comes to the surface.
Those pictures that you just saw on your screen, quite extraordinary. I think that seismic activity clearly showing the way that molten, semi-molten rock, that magma is flowing down some of that hill there. Those pictures coming into us overnight, lighting up the sky.
In October, after a swarm of small earthquakes, a crack about 15 kilometres long opened up, running right through the fishing port of Grindavik, leading to its evacuation, but also threatening the Blue Lagoon geothermal spa, popular with tourists, and more seriously, a geothermal power plant located here. So far, it's just this 4-kilometre section of the fissure out of which lava is now surging, and that flow is decreasing.
By Orange, the head of Iceland's Civil Protection and Emergency Management say the magma flow seems to be at least 100 cubic metres per second, so it would be considered pretty large for this area. You mentioned it there, it's about 2 miles away from the fishing town of Grindavik. Now, viewers might remember that last month, that was the town that was evacuated after there was huge seismic activity in that area, which caused some damage to home.
How long will it last? Well, the eruption is being fed by a subterranean river of magma called an intrusion. The eruption appears to have taken pressure out of this system, but nothing's certain, and more magma could be forced to the surface with lava emerging from other parts of the fissure. At its peak, lava at 1,200 degrees centigrade was spewing from the fissure at 200 cubic metres a second. That's 4 times the average flow of water down the River Thames. And there's a potential risk from toxic sulfur dioxide gas that might get carried to population centres by the wind. But effusive eruptions, as these are known, tend to cause just local disruption. Not so explosive ones. This was last year's Tonga eruption viewed from space. Volcanic ash from these events can shut down air travel, as happened when Iceland's Eyjafjallajökull erupted in 2010, leading to week-long disruption for around 10 million travellers in Europe and North America. Large eruptions can even cause changes in global climate.
Homes in that particular town, and increased fears of an imminent eruption. Of course, it wasn't some 4 weeks later till we're seeing these live pictures now of it. The first time, it has to be said, that people have evacuated from their homes in some 50 years as a preemptive measure. Now, of course, viewers will remember the 2010 huge ash cloud caused by the Eyjafjallajökull volcanic eruption, which grounded flights across Europe. It doesn't look as though it is that bad at this point, but it is still early days.
All the more reason to sit at a safe distance and admire what is, for now at least, one of Iceland's most benign and beautiful eruptions.
All right, we go to China now. There's been a natural disaster there. People suffering one of the largest earthquakes to hit that Asian nation in decades, a 6.2, but it struck in a busy populated area in the Gansu province in the northwestern part of China.
Tonight, the powerful tremor set off a scramble in northwestern China. People running from homes and buildings into the frigid night. At the earthquake's epicenter, an all-out search for survivors. Videos and photos shared by Chinese state media showing people pulled from the rubble. At least 127 are dead and scores are injured.
126 dead, hundreds and hundreds injured. This video from the Chinese Ministry of Emergency Management shows crews going through the rubble, trying to get people out of there on stretchers to emergency care, but boy, just trying to get into some of these areas, as you can tell, is tough. Those lucky to be alive and uninjured, though, are left at the mercy of some freezing weather because hundreds, reportedly possibly thousands of homes have been destroyed. So again, in about a decade's time, the deadliest earthquake to hit China.
Local officials say nearly 5,000 buildings were destroyed. Freezing temperatures at high altitude, making rescue operations more of a challenge. China's earthquake agency said the trembler measured magnitude 6.2 at a depth of just 6 miles, centered in Jushashan, a remote and impoverished county along the Tibetan Plateau, an area where earthquakes are not uncommon, but this is the deadliest in nearly a decade. More than 300 aftershocks have followed, according to state media, thousands now huddling in temporary shelters and bitter conditions.
With a cold wave gripping much of northern China, rescue officials say the next 48 hours are crucial, a race against time and temperatures to find survivors.